All right. Here we go, back again on the other side of the coin.
Welcome to the other side of the coin, everyone. Just quickly before I introduce my guests for this review, I just want to put it out there that I wasn't surprised one bit. I know deep down, not even deep down, we all wanted the win as Chelsea fans, except for Lyes, who's a Man United fan who's wearing a Leicester hoodie. Thanks for that. We were obviously looking for the win, but deep down, I think we can all say that with our form, the way we've been playing, the way Leicester's been playing, this is not a surprise. But Johnathan, welcome to the review. Lyes, welcome to the review. Johnathan, my man, how you doing?
I'm disappointed, but to be honest, I expected it. So second half, I was just watching a game of football. It didn't feel like I was watching Chelsea, the club I love, that I've supported since I was a little kid. It was just disappointing because it was just an inevitable ending. Never really looked like getting back into the game. So yeah, glad to be here and speak with you guys because it's hopefully I'll get it off my chest, my annoyances. So
100%, it's like a therapy session. We've said it throughout the match with Lyes as well that not once did I feel like that we were going to come back here. We just Leicester was so much in control. Lyes, first of all, how you doing? And introduce yourself to our fan base, the Chelsea fan base.
Yeah, no doubt. Hello, Chelsea fans. I'm in enemy territory right now. My name is Lyes. I'm a Manchester United fan, but football connoisseur, I'd like to think. So I'm here to kind of talk about what we just watched and give my input on Chelsea.
100%, man. Guys, do check out the watch along that we just did, which was really fun with Lyes, and you'll see exactly all our reactions throughout the match. And we've had some really good conversation throughout the session and some really good comments. Frank Khalid came in midway through. We had some good conversations with him. But guys, let's get straight into this match. First of all, we'll go with the lineup. We don't want to dwell too much about it, but just quickly on the lineup, I'll just bring this up on the side. Just bear with me. I'll go to Johnathan. Johnathan, man, were you surprised at all? Like, from my perspective, I suppose the only surprise package I had was obviously in midfield. Kovacic as a lone DM was a bit strange for me. And I don't think he's done anything in that match, to be honest. Once again, he's poor, and he's been poor throughout for so long. Pulisic, I didn't think he was going to start. I thought it was going to be Ziyech, and his distribution probably could have helped out. But when Ziyech came on, I don't think he made any impact at all. Besides that, what's your thoughts on the lineup, Johnathan?
Two things kind of stuck out for me. First of all, it's an attacking lineup, and second of all, why on earth was Rudi playing? Why on earth was Kovacic playing as a lone DM? No idea. I don't get why Lampard. I mean, I understand his bravery and why he's decided to go with an attacking team, but I've spoken at length about how Leicester's 4-2-3-1 is very effective. So why go with a DM like Kovacic, who's very inexperienced like that? I want to know who does his opposition analysis, because I want to sack him myself, because I'm sorry. If I can do 10, 15 minutes of decent homework and figure out that Maddison's the danger man, Maddison, who ran the show tonight, is going to be
completely ran the show.
Yeah, kept quiet by Kovacic. I just don't get that. But yeah, I mean, otherwise it was an attacking lineup. I like the fact that HudsonOdoi was starting. Okay, Pulisic, you could have gone for Pulisic or Ziyech. But I mean, other than that, it was a fairly strong team. It was a much stronger team than against Fulham. So I was a bit more hopeful. But it's, we started fairly quickly, and it's familiar territory. As soon as the goal goes in, it just
heads down.
Heads down. We didn't look like we're going to get back into it. So.
No, man, honestly, I have to agree with you. The lineup, when I looked at it, HudsonOdoi started. I think the whole fan base was screaming out for him, so it would have been tragic if he didn't start. Lyes agreed with that as well. Overall, as you said, Johnathan, I can't disagree. It was an attacking lineup, bar the whole Kovacic situation that you've mentioned. And at least we should have gone somewhat toe-to-toe with Leicester. But let's go to Lyes, man. Let's have a look at the Leicester lineup. We kind of talked about it before the match started in our watch along. But Lyes, when you saw the Leicester lineup, man, what was going through your minds? Obviously, Vardy up front, Barnes, Maddison, Albrighton, Tielemans, Ndidi, Justin, Evans. Fofana was a powerhouse. Castagna was also very, very good. Schmeichel, what was sort of going through your mind looking at the two lineups?
For me, it's all about the midfield battle, right? And you asked me before the game started, what's the area of the pitch that you're looking forward to seeing the biggest matchup? And for me, it was the midfields. Like, you look at Leicester City's midfield, and that's the epitome of balance. You have Ndidi, who is your typical destroyer, and who's really turning out to be one of the best destroyers in the Premier League this season, the past few years. You have Tielemans, who's your old school 8, the pass master, completes more passes and touches than anyone on the pitch, apparently. And then you have James Maddison, who for me was terrific today, just a classic number 10 performance. And then you look at Chelsea's midfield, and Johnathan kind of summed that up too. Like, the Mount Kovacic midfield isn't something that we've ever seen before, like those two in that middle of the park. And to put them up against one of the most balanced midfields in the Premier League was, I don't know what Lampard was thinking today. Maybe it was just the last roll of the dice to see what would work, but I think he set up his midfield to fail today.
No, 100%. I feel like someone like Billy Gilmore, I mean, if you are going to play Kovacic, just play, Mason Mount, Kovacic and Billy Gilmore. Like, have some more sort of authority in midfield in terms of control. I see why he was trying to go with Havertz, but Havertz for me was just non-existent. Just quickly over here, comment here, RHHB and Sport, Chelsea was lucky to lose only 2-0. I have to agree. Honestly, Leicester should have been 3-0. There was 3 probably good opportunity for them. Our opportunities probably came through set pieces a lot more, by headers were going straight to Leicester's keeper, Schmeichel. Johnathan, I'll go straight to you. Let's talk about the first goal, man, because I really want to dig into some of this stuff. Off the corner, I believe, I felt like our defense was just sleeping, and it was just bouncing off. I think it was a short corner, Johnathan? And then they put the ball through, and then a cross came in, and then a whole heap of chaos happened, and then it fell right outside the box for Ndidi for him to take the shot. I honestly can't blame Mendy in here, because he could probably see nothing right in front of him, what was going on. But where's the urgency to stop that shot? Where's the urgency to really zone in and try and win that second ball?
Didn't see it enough tonight. I think Mount, I think that's it.
I think we lost him, right?
We might have lost him.
Yeah, I think we might have lost him.
Hopefully he comes back.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah. From the corner, I mean, Pulisic goes out, fair play, tries to track him, but no one else then tries to help. I think, Sky, the stream I was watching, were blaming Havertz. I mean, he's been blocked off by someone. HudsonOdoi was there, could have maybe tried to come in maybe and double up. But as soon as the ball is missed by Barnes, no one's on the edge to then cover Ndidi, and Ndidi has a free shot. And yeah, it's just poor management from the corner. And we've been getting slowly worse from corners in the last few weeks. And obviously, when you don't have a presence like Zouma as well, Leicester are very clever in just, playing it short and catching us out. They did it a few times. They played a few quick free kicks where they caught us out. We were just sleeping. And it's just about organisation. It's just about switching on. It just shows the concentration levels aren't there. And that's basics. I mean, for Premier League footballers, that's basic.
But you can't teach that, right? You can't teach that, Johnathan. Like,
that's why the first goal is so annoying, because, we just switch off. They play a quick one, and it's in the back of the net before we even think about it. And that's 5 minutes into the game, and then already you think this is going to be a long night.
Man, in the watch along, honestly, Lyes, as soon as that goal went in, even my head was down. Like, let alone players' head was down. I was like, this is not going to look good. And as Johnathan said, that urgency wasn't there. And I feel like you can't teach urgency. Like, that should just come within you. Like, you can't expect Frank Lampard to go and tell these players to be more urgent. And I feel like this is where, I don't know, like, yeah, we can sit here and blame the players, but I think the players are probably not getting the message from the manager as well. So there's probably some sort of disconnect. Just a quick message here from Baggy. BN Sports, Giroud is leaving, and Avram Grant, caretaker manager. Not the most likely. I don't know whether that is going to happen, to be honest. Is that something BN has said? I don't know. I don't think Giroud is leaving, because he's mentioned that he's sticking around for the whole season. And Avram Grant, we were sort of saying in Watch Along that he recently came out and said that he's not linked with Chelsea. But sometimes I feel like this is the exact opposite that happened. So watch this space to see what's going on. Lyes, let's talk about the second goal, man. I feel like looking back at that second goal, Reece was not tracking back at all. He was just daydreaming. He was just not looking at where Maddison was. Maddison ghosting right behind him. Yes, you can sort of say, what's Rudiger doing, leaving his position and going straight to Vardy? But I think Vardy was very smart to suck, Rudiger in. And maybe it would have been a bit too much for Thiago Silva to just control Vardy. But your thoughts on that whole second goal? I mean, did you think Reece was was the person in problem, or did you see it any other way?
For me, I look at the central pairing. Reece James was out of position, but the fact that both center backs are dragged in and drawn into Jamie Vardy, who doesn't even get a head on the ball. He kind of just like ducks and like it goes over him. But that's kind of just like the stuff you see when a football team is struggling, right? Kind of like Johnathan was saying for the first goal. When it rains, it pours, man. And like just mistakes just keep on piling onto each other. Players, individual mistakes here and there, organization just missing. That's why, like, when you guys were asking at halftime, like, who do you bring on? What do you change? It seems like the adventure has kind of ended now. Like, you guys have tried so many things, so many players in different areas, so many combinations, so many duos, so many partnerships, and it's not working. I think that second goal kind of summed up Chelsea recently. Just disjointed.
No, 100%, man. It's a good point you bring up, and I want to go to Johnathan on this one. Why the need to change Thiago Silva and Zouma pairing? I mean, I recently heard Frank Lampard come off the Fulham game, and he was asked this, and he said due to the whole team's form and whatnot, he wanted to change things up. But was it necessary to take Zouma out?
It's another one that just baffles me. I just don't get it. I mean, Silva and Zouma is probably the best part of our team, one of the most solid parts. So for him to take him out, we've got problems in midfield. We've got problems up front. The sort of front six of our team, we had a settled back five, and as soon as we started tinkering with it and having injuries, that's when we've had problems. So, I don't get that. And Rudiger today did himself no favors. I mean, near the end, Vardy put Rudiger on his arse with ease. Rudiger did the splits almost. It wasn't just Rudiger that was awful today. I don't think it was the right decision. I don't think it's the right decision to play Kovacic, but you live and die by your decisions, and Lampard's making several bad decisions. And another game where we play a top six side and we don't get a result, not even a draw. I would have taken a draw today. I would honestly have taken a draw.
Me too.
Me too. Yeah, we knew we needed 3 points. We know we needed a win. And it's so hard to watch it because when you talk, I did a preview, you do a preview, everyone talks about how good Leicester are. So I wasn't surprised. So to go back to your original point, Rudiger didn't help us. Would have been better with Zouma, but I don't think that changes the fact that we would have lost this game because the main component to Leicester's win today was James Maddison. And we had no solution to him until he went off. I think when he went off, the Chelsea players must have breathed a sigh of relief because they thought, oh, crikey, all right. I'm out on my feet.
Finally, we can play football.
Mount looked knackered. He looked, he was the one that kept running.
He was our best midfielder.
Best player.
And it was at times where he seemed to be the only one that was in midfield. But you're talking about half-time, Lyes, about what we could have done to change it. I mean, immediately I would have brought Gilmour on and matched up Leicester completely, had someone that, what we were doing so often is, because we weren't having the attacking players free, open, making space, making movement, we were so quick to put it back. It went from Rudiger to Silva, to Chilwell, to James, and then back to Rudiger and back to Silva. Sometimes he went into Kovacic, sometimes he'd try and burst forward, and it didn't work. He'd lose the ball, and then as soon as Kovacic loses the ball, you've got no midfield base.
Finished.
That, it's just back and sideways. And people moaned under Sarri about what that happened. I don't want to delve into that manager, but when we have so much attacking players, get the ball into them. There was about a 15-minute spell where Havertz did well. I think 50 to 65 until he got taken off. We had 3 or 4 touches, really quick. Turn, move, took 2-3 players on, and then Havertz comes off, and that was the best spell of the game. And I get why he wanted to bring Ziyech and Werner on, but take off. I mean, Pulisic is probably our best attacker, but take off someone else. Havertz actually started to look good, and then you take him out of the game. I'm just. It's really hard to talk when you lose games like that, and so many things could be done. But I'm not paid 5, 6, whatever Lampard is, and his assistant. As I said, so
I think 4 million a year.
Yeah, I'm stressed. I don't earn no money out of this, and I'm stressed for Lampard. So I don't know how he's feeling right now, because he must feel like the weight of the world on his shoulders.
Nah, for sure, man. I want to talk about this comment here with Lyes. Amir Khan, thank you for this particular comment. Why is Havertz the most invisible generational talent I've ever watched? Honestly, I got to say, Lyes, we were doing this in the watch along that. I know Johnathan just mentioned that there was a time where Havertz was sort of coming into his groove, right? Probably at the end of first half, maybe early second half. But I have to admit, Lyes, throughout the game, he wasn't there. Once again, he was not there. Now, we can't. Our team's struggling. We cannot harbour players that are not going to be there. And as Johnathan said, at sometimes it looked like Mason Mount was the only midfielder. How do we utilise from someone who's away from the fan base? You're a Man United fan. How do you, like, from the outside, look at someone like Havertz? Like, what's the best way to utilise him?
I watched a bit of Havertz last year at Leverkusen, and I think in football there's two kinds of attacking players, right? There's players. I'm going to take Manchester United's example. There's players like Bruno Fernandes, right, who are always trying to get on the ball, and they're high volume players. And then there's players like Kai Havertz, who isn't a high volume player, a bit like Dele Alli at Spurs. These players are more positionally, like, position based players, right? Like he's a player who doesn't like get on the ball and create 40 chances a game, but he's a player that gets into smart areas and creates chances based on his positioning, a bit like Van de Beek at United. But the way Lampard is playing him, he's kind of playing him in positions that don't suit his best abilities. I think I was saying Kai Havertz, I would have liked to see him closer up to Tammy Abraham today, a bit of a 4-4-2. I don't know if the midfield is the right pairing to support that, but I think that's really where Kai Havertz finds his best. He's not an old school number 10. He's not a number 8 either. I think he is a bit of a false 9. And to the point of, is he invisible? Yeah, I think he's invisible because he's playing in a role that doesn't suit any of his best attributes.
Yeah, I have to say, and Johnathan, you'd probably agree as well, he played more of an attacking 8 again today. He was trying to zoom into the box. There was a moment where Lyes and I thought maybe it could be 4-4-2 with, Havertz going up alongside Tammy Abraham, more advanced position, but it didn't look like that. He was more in midfield, sometimes very deep in midfield. Why does Frank persist on playing this player in that role? Why not just, I feel like sometimes he's torn between consistently playing Mason Mount, and Mason loves to drive up as well, but then he also wants to fit in Havertz, and I feel like there's an imbalance. You can't fit everyone. Obviously, we saw that Ziyech wasn't playing today. Do you feel like he's not game enough to make those big calls? And just, I feel like saying, if you want Mason Mount and you want him to play more sort of up front as a 10, then play him as a 10. Where do you think it's going wrong here for Havertz and the whole balance of the team?
I think today was very clear that you had two sets of managers. One manager that knew his best players and his best positions, a style that fits all of the 11 on the pitch, and then another manager that has no idea what formation to play, what set of players to play, where their best positions are. I don't think even Lampard knows where Havertz's best position is. I think that in lies the problem. If you don't know where he's best suited, what are you going to do? He seems to want to go this 4-3-3, so Havertz has to fit into that kind of attacking 8. But when he loses the ball in a deeper position, which you are in sometimes as an 8, which he has been doing because of his lack of confidence, because of the lack of just, I'd say mindset at the moment, because he just looks a bit fragile. Sometimes when he's on the ball, he takes the wrong touch and it's gone, and then he doesn't get the ball for 5 minutes, and then he tries to do something again, attacking and positive, and he loses the ball, and it's just a vicious cycle. So I don't think Lampard knows what he is to do with these players. I think the way I read Chelsea's lineup when they do the tweet is the way they write it is the formation. So obviously when you've got the way they wrote it with Abraham in the middle and Pulisic and obviously HudsonOdoi either side, that's why I read it as a 4-3-3. But I've talked about 4-4-2, 4-2-4 almost on my channel. I've talked about it on Twitter. And I completely get what you're saying there. It's about having Havertz closer, even having Werner play off someone, and then have maybe Havertz behind him. So you've almost got 3 players in a central position where you've got 2 centre backs against 3 attacking players. They're going to go, sorry, what's going on here? Can't deal with this. Yeah. And if Fofana and Evans had been tested once today, maybe we would have seen something. But I mean,
bro, how good is Fofana? How good is
He-
Fofana?
He's class, but you guys made him look like Van Dijk today, right?
Yeah, we did. He did like a 60, 70 yard run.
Yeah, that dribble second half. But
Yeah.
but Johnathan and Lyes, both of you guys, how good is his tackling as well? The way he intercepted, the way he tackled. How old is this guy, Fofana? He's like a youngster. Isn't he?
He must be 20, 21, 22. He's
Yeah.
very young.
You have another
does
70, 80 million pound player right there. You have another player that Leicester, if they want to sell him, will break the bank and make millions.
100%. This guy looks amazing. Comment from CFC Stephen Lampard. It intensified for me a while ago. Expectations of this club are high. It's my decision. There are some things that are beyond my control. Let's talk a little bit about this before we get into the other sort of players and whatnot. And I really want to focus on the midfield as well. But Lyes, from the outside, man, I mean, we've talked about it that every time Ole gets into trouble, players seem to get him out of trouble just in time to give him that extra bit of gain. And now, he's sort of right now he's on leading the table. Obviously, Leicester is, but there was a moment where Man United was leading. What do you see from outside? You've sort of mentioned in the watch along that our players are not playing for him. Is that what it comes down to?
For starters, I guess Lampard doesn't have the black magic. All he has mastered black magic.
We're gonna have to hear this now.
Nah, all serious though. You remember this time last year, Ollie was in a worse situation than Lampard. Admittedly, he had a worse team than Lampard, a much worse team. But this was around the time where we had played Burnley and Liverpool back to back, just like we just did, and we lost both games 2-0. And he was on the ropes. And for me, let me just say this first of all: you guys are very calm right now. I'm very surprised at how calm you guys are, because I remember a situation like this just a few months ago when we got knocked out of the Champions League. I was far less calm. But the player that changed our season was Bruno Fernandes. Is that what's missing from this Chelsea team? I don't know. I really don't know. I think Lampard has probably overstayed his tenure. I think he's probably lost too many of these players that he brought in, such as Havertz. We're talking about him. I think he's completely lost Havertz now. I think mentally he's just not there anymore. Ziyech and Werner are probably wondering what the hell is going on. One game they're starting, one game that they're not, and the results aren't changing. I don't know. I don't know where Chelsea goes from here. I think sacking the manager, that's the final straw. Like, I don't think there's anything now anymore that Lampard can do, personally.
Johnathan, it's a very good point Les brings up in regards to a few things where players losing faith. Havertz probably one of them. Werner probably the other one as well. Not playing in their positions does affect their confidence. But the other thing, what Les has just said, the rotation. How many did we see Leicester rotate today from their last match against Southampton? And how many we rotated as well? I mean, why are we doing this?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't always listen to commentary because it just kind of annoys me. But I did listen today because I was interested to hear what they were saying when we were 1-0, 2-0 down. And they were saying, Lampard keeps rotating and he doesn't know what his best 11 is. We've talked about that. But, HudsonOdoi played today. Wasn't his best game. Should have started a few games ago, deserved to start. I can bet any money in the world that he will now not play in the next big game against Wolves when it is next week. You're giving him one chance. A couple of times he tried to take on, but with James so wide, HudsonOdoi tended to come inside. And because we were just putting the ball out wide and playing it at the back, he didn't really get into the game. Even Kovacic at times struggled to get into the game. So I don't think you can blame him on that. But yeah, he's gonna probably leave him out. He'll probably leave Abraham out now after one game playing, and he'll probably start Werner or Drew there. So if you give players one game and go, let's see what you can do, it doesn't go to plan, and then you change them. You can't build up any consistency. Yeah. You can't build up any form.
And the confidence as well. Like, just shot.
Yeah, I say we've got a sort of a settled formation. I know we've had a few times where we've had injuries, like Kante's now injured. We've had James injured and stuff. But just honestly, just give players 2 or 3 games to see what they're made of. It seems to be one of the mainstays at the moment. Is obviously Chilwell, Mendy, Thiago Silva, Mount, and Pulisic. Those players generally play most games. But if you're anyone else, if you have one bad game, I mean, defensively today, James was absolutely ripped apart. I know it's his first game in a few games, but
Barnes
ripped apart. Ripped apart. I mean, we know he's more of an attacking right back, and I'm not blaming him for the defeat, but he was really poor today. He'll end up starting the next game. So you've got to, have the same, way of judging players and the same idea of if you play well, you continue, the next week, or you just go 2-3 games and have one settled team like Leicester have. Because now, look, I picked their 11 and it took me 5 seconds. I said maybe Perez would play over Albrighton just to give him more attacking edge. Because I thought if I was Leicester, I'd go for Chelsea gung ho. But they have a settled formation. That has taken time. They've had ups and downs this season, but they've stuck with it. And obviously Tielemans is a fantastic player, and Didi is a fantastic player that really solidifies their base. But yeah, I mean, I've dived, as I always do, I kind of go away from the point, but I come back to it and say, yeah, rotation isn't going to work. With the games coming thick and fast, I get if you want to rotate in a game like Luton and a game like Morecambe, but against Fulham, we could not only have played our box 11, seen how we did, got a bit of time on the pitch together, and then translated that with a good performance into Leicester. Instead, he's played 2 different teams. We've got very lucky against Fulham, and now today we've been found out. It doesn't make sense to me. And the reason I'm so calm, Liz, is because first of all, I predicted it. And second of all, I've gotten used to talking with calm after any sort of Chelsea win, draw, lose. Because the thing is, it's easy to talk about Chelsea when you're winning. It's great. But it's about being constructive when you draw and when you lose, and about supporting the team. Because as much as I love Chelsea, it does disappoint me. I wait all day to watch a game with COVID and lockdown. There's nothing else to do. And then I watch that crap on my television.
That's why I'd be angry, though. I'd be even angrier if I were you.
Yeah, I'm just past it because, I mean, you alluded to the fact that it could be last straw for Lampard. I don't want to say we need to sack him because I don't think if you sack Lampard, it gets rid of all our problems. Another manager comes in, whether it's an interim or a full. I mean, no one's going to come in full time right now because I wouldn't touch this job with a barge pole if I was any elite manager because it's poison. All you can do is somehow make us better and somehow get us top 4. Otherwise, you're rubbish as well.
Yeah. So I want to, if it's okay, I want to add. I think the rotation point is spot on. And Miz, you'll remember this when I came onto your show the very first time. You asked me, what does Lampard have to do to save his season, to save his job? And I told you the one thing Lampard needs to do is find a style of play and find a core 8 players to build the spine of this team around and stick with it for 5-6 games. Yeah, because that's the only way. And then if it doesn't work, then okay, it doesn't work. But it's just indecisive. Like there's no plan, there's no long-term goal if you're just switching the formation, switching the 11, switching the style of play every single game. And to my point, you were saying today, okay, all we're doing is crossing. If that's the way you want to play, that's absolutely fine. But then you have one of Europe's elite crossers of the ball in Hakim Ziyech on the bench. So why wouldn't you play him? You asked me what part of Chelsea's 11 sticks out to you, and I said it was Hudson-Odoi and Reece James on the right hand side because Ziyech and James work. Ziyech drifts into the middle and James can overlap him, but Hudson-Odoi is a natural winger. So how are you going to play a guy who hugs the touchline and then Reece James who loves to bomb forward? If you want to play that way, you play the players that fit that system. Frank Khaled said at halftime, "Let's play Werner in." Werner was never going to succeed in this game because Leicester were always going to play a deeper line. Werner is a guy who likes to hug who likes to be on the last line of offside. There was no last line of offside. That was basically in Leicester's own goal box. So for me, there's just no plan that sticks with the players he wants to play. There's no continuity. And that's ultimately what's going to cost him his job. He just hasn't. Just to start off the season, he got a bunch of players for me that didn't mesh well together. These players, I feel like they were bought based on what they'd done rather than what they could be as a team. And now that's unfortunately what's going to cost his job.
No, man. Honestly, both of you guys, Johnathan and Lyes, you guys put forward some amazing points. And ultimately, this is what's happened. You look at the teams like Liverpool, you look at the teams like Manchester City, and I know it's probably not a fair comparison because their coaches are far, far superior to Frank Lampard. But you look at their fundamentals, they do not rotate so much. Yeah, probably Pep rotates 1 or 2 players, because of the depth that he has in terms of Mahrez and Bernardo Silva. So he can afford, but there's certain players that always start for Pep, and that is Kevin De Bruyne, Sterling, And that core five at the back, Ruben Diaz and Stones, even though I believe, I don't know if Laporte is back from injury or not.
Yeah, he's been back.
He's been back. Yeah. But Ruben Diaz and Stones have now been playing for good 5-6 matches, and they've created a very good partnership, and he keeps them. Kevin De Bruyne is another one. 2 points that stick out. One that you said, we don't have that Bruno Fernandes or that Kevin De Bruyne kind of player in our midfield. Hence, every match we go in, we get shredded in midfield. We have absolutely nothing available for us in midfield, and which has been a massive concern. Mount is not that type of a player. Mount is he's a very good player, but he's not in the level of KDB or Bruno Fernandes at this moment. He could possibly reach that down the track, but right now he does not have that level of distribution or that level of maturity to control a midfield single-handedly. We've seen big players do that.
One thing I will say, you say a player that single-handedly dominates the midfield. I don't think De Bruyne or Bruno Fernandes do that. In fact, if you were to ask me, Bruno Fernandes practically plays as a forward for Man United. And I think De Bruyne this season has played more higher and higher up the pitch. What the player I think Chelsea is missing in the most is that first phase midfielder, a player like Thiago, like who gets, like Johnathan was saying, a player that gets the ball off the center backs and can immediately find the diminutive attacking midfielders. Like your best passages of play was when Kovacic got the ball quickly and found Havertz or Mount in the pockets, and then goes from there. Bruno Fernandes is not someone from United who drops deep and picks up the ball and sprays the passes and controls the game. I think United actually needs a player like that, but what City and Liverpool have is Thiago, and then for City they have Gundogan and Rodri, who can kind of dominate the game from deep. And for Leicester today, that was Tielemans, who I thought ran the show today. It was fantastic. Chelsea doesn't really have that player, and you would hope Kovacic would be that guy, but I think Kovacic is showing game after game after game. He doesn't have the influence on games that you'd expect a player of his talent to have.
No, spot on, man. I have to agree. Johnathan, let's now move on to some of the other parts of this game. Obviously, we've talked about Frank. We've talked about Kai Havertz. You know, we've kind of talked about the midfield as well. Where do we go now, man? I mean, we're looking at Wolves next up. I've not been impressed by our style one bit, Johnathan. The way we're playing, there's just too many issues, and now we're drifting away, far and far away from the top four. Where does it go now, Johnathan? Like, how did we get into this situation?
Just a couple of points I want to add before I start. Gilmour is the link between the midfield, the defence and the attack. Lampard just refuses to use him for some reason. And I think if you're talking about the other teams in the league, about their midfield. Liverpool, strong three-man midfield that doesn't create but knows exactly its job. Man City, a base that knows what it needs to do, doesn't need to create. And obviously, Leicester now have a fantastic base in Tielemans and Ndidi. So, if Lampard's not looking at these teams in the Premier League and going, they've all got solid bases, they all a midfield that knows exactly their job. Hang on, if that's working, then why don't I do that myself? But yeah, in terms
do you feel Declan Rice fixes that? I know our fan base is so over Declan Rice, and on top of it, I don't see how he comes in and fixes everything in midfield.
No, I don't think it is. I mean, I'm suggesting Gilmour as a one-fix solution, maybe with Kante, but I don't even think that's a complete solution until you sort out in front as well. Because, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Every player in our team is unsure about exactly what they need to do in their role. James is unsure whether he needs to keep attacking, whether he needs to defend more. He's sometimes so caught out. Chilwell was sometimes, there was a few times there where Chilwell was just jogging backwards after going forward. Come back quicker. The midfield, I'd say Mount just seems to go, well, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. And he's getting rings run around him because he doesn't know where he needs to be. So until we define, and I say 4-3-3, your DM sits,
it just sits there
in front of the defence. Is the link, gets the ball and gets rid of it. None of the sideways and backwards crap. Get it moving forward and with intensity. The ones either side of them. When one attacks, one has to sit. You can't have, one player in a midfield shielding with a left back and a right back up and two midfielders up. That's almost three against sometimes 4 or 5 of opposition.
And when the opposition press us, we just get annihilated.
And Leicester pressed fantastically today in 2s and 3s. And when we were pressing, it was in singles. And that's why we're not working as a team. And, you're talking about our style. first of all, we need to start playing as a bloody team, because if you're not gonna, there was times today where Ndidi and Tielemans were in trouble, and Maddison or Barnes or Albrighton went, okay, I'm going to come inside, give me the ball, give me the ball. And there were so many times today where, Kovacic was trying to run forward or Mount, and who's open for him? No one.
Yeah.
So until we start, until we start playing as a team, forget about the style, because, the players are not, leaving everything on that pitch. Until they do that, there's no point of even trying to change tactics, trying to change style, because it isn't going to work whatever you do. And I think, no doubt, Lampard is kind of running out of ideas, and I think he's struggling to motivate these players. But as an elite sports person, I'm sorry, but if you need motivating to go out and play against Leicester away from home in a big game where you need to win,
get out of here.
Exactly. So.
No, absolutely, man. Absolutely. I mean, I want to talk about, it's a very good point. The pressing is the other one where I said it in the watch along that our pressing is depressing, because we look so pathetic in pressing, man. And Leicester looked so fantastic. The way they pressed as a unit, every time we were trying to play out from the back, they just swarmed in on us and suffocated us. And every time we tried to do that to Leicester, I just wanted to laugh. I just wanted to say to our boys, just don't press, just drop deep and just let them come at you and try and hit them on the counter, because the press was not up to the mark, because it only took them good 1-2 clean-cut passes, and they were straight through our midfield and they were into our centre-backs. And, I just wonder, like, Frank sees this happening right in front of his eyes, and I don't know what message he's giving to them at halftime. But the other two things I want to talk about, and I'll go to Lyes and then I'll go to Johnathan on it. We talked about, in the watch along, a lot about Chilwell and Reece James. For me, I don't know how fit Reece James was. He got ripped apart, absolutely in shreds, ripped apart by Harvey Barnes a few times, James Maddison, you name it, everyone ripped him apart. Chilwell, similarly, he was trying to cross in and his crosses were not good enough. I mean, I've said it in the last few matches that I don't know the hype that our fan base gives Chilwell. I don't know if he's actually as good as that hype. I think he's a good left back, but I don't know if Chilwell is actually that great. I think Reece James is really good. I think he's shown this season, when he's been fully fit, defensively and offensively, he can be very great. So I think, he hasn't been fit enough, and that's another blame on Frank Lampard. If he's not fit enough completely, why are you starting him? Why not start a fit Azpilicueta, who would have been crap anyway, but at least he's fit. At least just tell him, don't bomb up, just stay and defend. Your thoughts on the two players, man, specifically Chilwell?
Let me tell you this, right? I think I'm gonna link this to a different team. I'm gonna link this to Liverpool. And a player that's having a really poor season for his standards is Trent Alexander-Arnold, right? He's having a very poor season for his own high standards. And for me, people have pointed out, okay, Van Dijk isn't there anymore. The way teams are defending him is different. But I think what makes the modern day fullback so good at bombing forward is that the midfield next to him is industrious and works for him. And I think with Jordan Henderson dropping into defense this year, with Fabinho dropping into defense, Trent Alexander-Arnold doesn't have that protection in midfield to help support his bombing runs forward. And if we want to link this to Chelsea, I think this goes back to me saying Lampard needs to find a way of playing that everyone kind of molds into that image. So, for example, Chelsea's midfield, who's going to be the one to kind of support Chilwell and on the right, Reece James? Who's going to be the guy to do that? Because when Chilwell is bombing forward, Mason Mount is also bombing forward. Kai Havertz is also in that advanced position. Kovacic is not someone who's going to kind of support him and play defensive midfielder. So if you want to play all these attacking names in midfield, I don't think you can afford to have Reece James and Ben Chilwell bombing forward every single time. If you have an N'Golo Kante, then sure, maybe. But it all comes down to, how does Frank Lampard want to play? For me, with all the names that you've named, Mason Mount, Kai Havertz, Ziyech, HudsonOdoi, Pulisic, I think the best thing might be to make this team a counter-attacking team. If anything, it also helps the likes of Timo Werner becoming a counter-attacking team, because you don't have these names that can dominate midfields, that can dominate games. You don't have those personalities. You don't have those profiles. So for me, I think he's trying to implement a style of play with players that just don't fit that style. That's purely what it is. And today, Reece James and Ben Chilwell, I kind of disagree. I think Ben Chilwell has been pretty good this year. As someone looking at from the outside in, I think he's had a pretty good season. Recently, no. But I think you can get the best out of those guys by kind of playing a way that supports them.
True.
I just don't think Lampard has done that enough this season.
Johnathan, you kind of agree as well that we've got all of these players, but we don't have that sort of that Gundogan or Thiago Alcantara kind of style of player that can help link up all of these players and allow these attacking players to do their job.
Yeah, every great team in the world, has fantastic attacking players, but they also have players that do the dirty work and allow those attacking players to do what they can do. Not every player is Mbappe, Mo Salah, Sadio Mane, etc., Kevin De Bruyne. You've got to have, a Rodri, a Fernandinho, a Gundogan, a Thiago, a Fabinho behind them to allow them to be, to be as good as they are. So, I think Lampard's, especially in bigger games this season where he's trusted Kante, and I'm nothing against Kante, but I persistently, and I will continue to say that he cannot play in that role on his own against a top team, especially, if he'd have played against Maddison tonight, he isn't doing any better than Kovacic, in my opinion, because he can't mark. Yeah, so when I saw that Kante was injured, I thought, okay, maybe he'll be pushed to play someone like Mount and Gilmore, or maybe even worst case scenario, Kovacic, Jorginho, and have two. Didn't even go for that. So, I think, you've got to have, when you have these, I wouldn't say luxury players, you're attacking players, but luxury in the sense that you want them to just attack and not to defend. We're not Jose Mourinho where he's asking Pedro and Willian to defend. I don't care if Ziyech, Pulisic and the striker do no defending. Doesn't bother me. As long as the midfield covers the defenders, the midfield covers the attacking players when they go forward. And it's just basic. I mean, when I played as a kid, when I was playing, if I played in midfield, if one of them went forward, stay back. If my left back went forward, I stayed back as a right back. It's just basic. So we're just not covering for each other, and it's just not using our brains. When someone goes forward, you sit, and I'd say Lampard's not helping the players the way he's setting them up, but the players aren't exactly doing him a favour the way that they're playing right now, because they could be doing a lot better. If you're not given the tools to do your job, who do you blame? The tools or
absolutely.
I would what Ollie is doing at United, right? Like, I think it's kind of similar. United's best players are all their attacking players that you don't want defending. You don't want Rashford or Pogba coming back and defending and doing the dirty work. But what has Ollie done in the big games in particular? He's put Fred and McTominay in there to do the dirty work. You're not expecting Fred and McTominay to play 60-yard through balls into like they just do the dirty work. They support the more offensive players. They break up the play and they play it to them, and that's their job. For me, I don't think Chelsea has enough of those players.
No, it's what you both have said, and I've said it as well plenty of times in other channels, in my channel as well, that Frank doesn't know what he wants from these players. He doesn't know the kind of style he wants. As you said, at least Ole has summed it up that whether I have the players who can play possession-based or not, I'm going to play predominantly counter-attacking because I feel like I can manage that. And he's got the Fred and McTominay and Matic's to sit deep and sort of destroy. That's the thing we haven't seen enough of. I want to take this moment to go through some of our Chelsea, fan base and see what they're up to. Is this clear enough? I'm trying to make it a little bit bigger.
Did you see the Lampard quote just now? By the way,
sorry, what was that?
Did you see the most recent Lampard quote? Fabrizio
what was it? Oh, no, let's check that. Let's check that. Let's go through some of these comments and then we'll check that. Yannick, one of our one of the big top accounts in Chelsea, big YouTube channel, is all right. I'm out of here. Love you guys. Trending because Roman. Yeah, fair enough. And this is the thing. Like, I don't know why some of these people they're there when we're doing good, but when things go tough, it's comments like this. All right, I'm out of here. Love you guys. Like, I mean, have the sort of ability to talk during bad time as well. Be constructive during bad times. Viali, you play 4-3-3, so CDM is critical to the system, hence the obsessive pursuit of Rice. So why did it make sense to loan out Ampadu, who would surely have been, we've said it many times, why loan out Ampadu? And perhaps he could have, but I guess Ampadu's more playing as a CB these days. Quick thoughts on that, Johnathan?
Yeah, I mean, it made sense to him to play game time. We shouldn't be in a position where we should be relying on him because you've got someone like Gilmore who could be playing. We've got other players that can play. You don't have to look at Kovacic and Jorginho to be playing in those positions. So I agree, probably not. But we have enough in that squad, in my opinion, to we have solutions. Lampard's just not looking to the right ones. But it's interesting. Chelsea haven't tweeted anything about the after the game with the Lampard's press conference or any of his words.
Really, haven't done it.
54 minutes since they tweeted the full time. That is really strange. So I'm not saying
I reckon he's going to
anything bad's coming, but
I think it's
really strange that they haven't said anything.
Because generally they come out and they tweet all of that. This is what the gaffer said and whatnot. Cheesy Hour has said pretty much what you were saying, Liz. Has a manager ever blamed their players as much as Frank Lampard has done since he's been the manager? Honestly, expected Chelsea is another very good stats-based. Feel bad for Cho today. Received no service at all for most parts. Didn't get to play on the left as much as minutes. Pretty much on the fail. Won't be surprised if he gets benched. This is what you said, Johnathan. Won't be surprised if he gets benched off the back of that. It's like he's been set up to do this. I want to quickly have a look at Simon Johnson. Will be lost amid the ongoing drama at CFC and Leicester City. This is a lot of praise. Brilliant. Well done, Rogers. I want to now quickly just take this out for a second because I want to find that tweet. What was it? Fabrizio Romano, was it?
Yeah, he retweeted it. It's damning. And for me, it probably spells the end of Frank Lampard's tenure at Chelsea Football Club.
Okay, let's have a look at this. I want to bring this up. See if we can bring this.
Oh yeah, side.
This one from Nizar.
Yeah.
Lampard on denies Chelsea players owe him anything to perform, but says many aren't doing well. There are players who are not playing as well as they should do. I was a player, and they are the only ones who can deal with it. I think it's over, boys. I think it's over. When that kind of talk comes out, I think it's over.
Yeah, that sounds like.
Yeah, Johnathan, you were saying something, and then I'll go to Lyes.
Apologies. Yeah, that's why Chelsea haven't tweeted, because I've just read Romano's and obviously the Kinsella tweets. Yeah, geez, yeah, that you cannot come out, and I know their players didn't do well, but that isn't the right thing to do, to come out and slate your players after you set them up to fail.
Bro, this is over, Johnathan. It's over. Like, he's pretty much come out and said that it's all on the players. Like, Lyes, your thoughts?
Man, this is what I told you. Frank Lampard took two traits from his mentor Jose Mourinho, and they're terrible traits to have as a manager. Deflecting blame and putting it all on your players. You cannot do that as a manager, and this is why the past few weeks, when people have been mad at Jurgen Klopp after games, when he comes out and says, "Oh, we should have gotten a penalty here," or "Oh, the officiating is bad," or "Oh, there's an agenda against Liverpool," he does that to deflect blame off his players. I'm sure in the dressing room after the game, he goes and rips into them. But you cannot throw your players under the bus to the public media like this. If you didn't lose half the players already, this is it. Like, it's over. Like you said, it's over.
Yeah. When I see a statement like that publicly from the gaffer to come out and say that about their players, look, I'm not denying the fact that some of our players haven't been playing good. But there's a lot to blame on Frank Lampard and the way he's using them, the kind of, style that he wants out of them. As we've mentioned here many times already, that some of these players don't know the roles. Johnathan have said it, Lyes, you've said it, that they don't know the roles that they need to carry out in this team. And then for the manager to come out and say that, well, there are players who are not playing as well as they should do. I was a player, and they are the only ones who can deal with it. So I don't understand. What's he trying to say? That, in his tenure, Johnathan, there's been plenty of managers that have been sacked. Is he trying to say that perhaps it's always the players that just don't give the 100%, and that's why managers get the sack?
I think he's just lashing out. I think he's angry, and he just, couldn't take it anymore. That's why I think he's gone. Hey, Sadik's here.
Look who we have here. It is Mr. Sadik. How are you, my bro?
All right. Here we go. Back again. What's going on?
This is a surprise, Sadik. Bro, did you see? Let me just quickly show you. Sadik, by the way, Lyes, Sadik. Sadik is Chelsea.
Enjoy the win, man. Enjoy the win.
No. He's a Man U fan. He's taking the piss. He's taking the piss.
I was thinking I saw United.
Yeah. Bro, he's taking the piss. This is what we've come down to, Sadik. Other teams are laughing at us.
That's a big L, man.
Yeah, bro, Sadik, have you seen this from Nizar?
No, let's read this.
So Frank Lampard has apparently said there are players who are not playing as well as they should. I was a player, and they are the only ones that can deal with. I think it's over, bro. He's just put all the players under the mud.
Yeah, I think it's done, man. I'll be surprised if this guy survives.
Bro, when this happens, Sadik, it never goes down well. When you blame the players off the back of that loss, it never goes down well.
It's done, man. It's done. But Manhandle was saying that he's staying forever.
I'm saying Chelsea, it's been 59 minutes. They haven't tweeted. So, in my opinion, they've seen the comments or they've read the comments. They've obviously doing something in the background. I don't want to predict something. It's really strange that Chelsea haven't tweeted anything. I really hope that it isn't the end because I'm not.
Well, that's a good point. Good point.
It's a very good point. Generally, boys, straight after the match, within the first, 25 minutes, Chelsea tweets out, this is what the gaffer had to say post-match. Nothing's come out. I mean, the boys have said everything, but I want to go to Sadik, bro. Honestly, what's Roman thinking? There was rumors that he was going to go before this match anyway. Like before that ball was even started. Like now, I think it's over.
No, you know what? I think yesterday's comments on that radio show. I think there was something. I think there was something to it. No. Honestly, I think there was something to it, and he covered his tracks, and he mentioned his article after that. But I think he meant a few things that night. 100%. It's like something that was spoken about. This is a do or die game, basically. You flop this, you're done. That's it. It's done. And the worst bit about it is Chelsea fans were cussing, including myself, by the way, cussing Arsenal, United, Ole at the wheel, all this nonsense. And now, we've taken the biggest L tonight, man.
Bro, don't even look at Lyes. He's been laughing all throughout my watch along. He goes, never disrespect Ollie. This is what he said to me. Never disrespect Ollie.
Bro, ask him a couple months ago. He was probably Ollie out as well.
He was.
Yeah, I still got my reservations on Ollie, right? Like I've never said Ollie is the guy long term for United to carry us to the promised land. Like, in fact, what he's doing right now, I never expected this. But one thing I always said is that as a United fan, I never saw Lampard get the same criticism that Ollie seemed to always get. Like Ollie seems to always be in the media. His job is always under scrutiny. And Lampard for me I think last year he did a better job of less, but this year you struggled from game week 1 to game week 18, 19 now. Really he started to finally get the criticism I feel like he justly deserves. That was the only thing. Like for me, Ollie, there's plenty of question marks over him as well.
But we see it differently as well. We see Lampard getting criticism from media. Maybe you're just reading different reports because we were getting it, trust me, for the last, month or two maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, I just feel like Ollie, like every single time, like he looks like he's about to get sacked. Like all the hounds are on him, and credit to him, he always gets himself out of it. But
I must say one thing though, boys, and I'll get every one of your perspective on it as well. I'll start with Chelsea. We have laughed at other managers massively, bro. Don't deny it. We've all have. I have. You have. Johnathan has. I'm sure Lyes has as well with other managers.
No, Johnathan hasn't. Johnathan hasn't.
No, sticking up for me, bro. Which is the exact reason I don't, because it always comes back to bite you.
Bro, I was laughing at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I was laughing at Arteta when they were going through. I look at our manager, honestly, and I think it was Alexis Kafkas. You know Alexis? He's always spitting facts. He said to me in my stream one day, he goes, honestly, we shouldn't be laughing. The difference between Frank, Ole, and Arteta is really their squads. They're all same level managers. Yeah. They're not one better than the other or one not. How much do you kind of regret now that us making so much fun about others when honestly we're in the mud?
Yeah, I mean, look, we're 9 points ahead, 10 points ahead of Arsenal. They're like 2 points behind us now. For me, that's embarrassing, man. It's embarrassing. And trust me, I grew up in North London for 20 years, and everyone on my social media, like personal social media, is like Arsenal, United, and I'm getting slated. I'm opening the chat, I'm closing it. That's it. I'm not responding to it. That's where it's got to. And one thing that did annoy me the most was, I get it, like Frank Lampard was a legend and he's arguably one of our greatest players of all time. But I felt Chelsea fans that were in for him showed too much love for him. It was too much for me, basically, because this Bannon stuff, I get it. Like the same energy wasn't used for Sorry. Like you might not have
No.
liked Sorry, you might not have liked Conte or anything, but the Lampard one was too much. I feel there's a lot of people being hypocrites basically.
Yeah.
And I never want a
100%.
manager to do badly. By the way, I never want a manager to do badly. I was the biggest Conte fan. I supported Sorry. I wanted to support Lampard, but you know, I have to be realistic. There are fans out there now saying, "Give him until the end of the season." It's not about tactics. It's not about lineup. It's not about any of that. The players just don't give a crap anymore.
No, 100%, man. 100%. Lyes, were you going to say something?
I was gonna say I watched the show actually from the UK, the kickoff, and I don't know if you guys know him. I think it's Rory Jennings.
Rory, yeah.
Yeah, he had a famous quote when Sarri was manager, saying after like the third season, he said Sarri has to go because he's not a Chelsea man. Whatever.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's the prime
Proper
example.
Chelsea. If you're not proper Chelsea, then get out of here.
A few weeks ago, he was still saying Lampard deserves time. We don't deserve. Lampard is doing worse than Sarri was. Sarri finished the season third with a trophy. And I'm
That's
not
what
saying,
man.
I'm not saying Sarri should have stayed as Chelsea manager, but I told Miz on the live stream, I've been watching Premier League since 2006 now. The greatest Chelsea team I ever saw, and I didn't get to see the 04-05 Chelsea team. The greatest Chelsea team I ever saw was the 09-10 Chelsea team. The football was out of this world, in my opinion.
Ancelotti.
He won the double. He was unfortunate not to go further in the Champions League because he played a great Inter Milan team. He won the double, and then the next year he didn't win it, and he was fired in the tunnel of Everton. If he got fired by Roman Abramovich, I'm sorry, Frank Lampard has no chance. He doesn't have a chance.
Yeah.
I think
I
you know what
just-
it is. Fans,
Yeah,
man.
go on,
Fans
Sadik.
obviously play a huge part as well. You know, fans, they love Frank Lampard, and they might go against the board. They might put, you know, protest and all the stuff. Obviously, pandemic now kind of eases that.
Yeah.
So maybe, he's probably gone.
I want to get Johnathan your thoughts on this one, and Sadik as well, especially because I'm not going to mention the name. I'm not going to mention the name who tweeted this, but it created a bit of pandemonium in the fan base off the back of that tweet. And honestly, I didn't appreciate that tweet one bit because I feel like that kind of tweet divides fans a lot more as opposed to unite fans. So the tweet went something like, you know, Frank Lampard is Chelsea. If you don't support Frank Lampard, then you're not a Chelsea fan. And also it goes on to say that if you don't want to see his, you know, if you're not there to see him succeed, then you're not a fan. I just want to say one thing. Why is it about Frank Lampard succeed? Why isn't it about Chelsea succeed?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like the whole narrative throughout this Lampard period has become about Lampard as opposed to Chelsea. We have forgotten the fact that Chelsea as a football club needs to go up there and win titles and win Champions League titles and be competitive, as opposed to we've been brainwashed to think Lampard's got to do well. Lampard as a manager has to grow up. Lampard as a manager has to be successful. Why? I mean, Johnathan, why are people so reluctant at times? We see a lot more people now being critical of Frank Lampard, but why are certain fan base, certain parts of the fan base are so much that it is all about Frank Lampard and they've kind of forgotten about Chelsea? Johnathan, bro.
It's frozen. I think it's frozen.
Oh, it's frozen. I'll go to you, Sadik, bro, while he comes back.
No, so sorry. Look, man, I'm just.
You know who I'm
confused by it.
talking about, right? You know who I'm talking about.
I believe so.
You would have seen the tweet, bro. You would have seen
One of the
tweet.
YouTubers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I got nothing against. First of all, I just want to make it clear, I have nothing against these guys, okay? But I genuinely don't understand why this manager has been put in front of the club. That's how it seems like.
Yeah.
We have to support the manager for him to succeed. I'm going to give him credit for the first season. I didn't think he overachieved. I don't think he overachieved. I think he achieved at the right level because I felt we still had Premier League winners in that team. I went to the home games when we lost. We done good away from home, but home games was depressing. We lost 2-3-0 a couple games. We still had Aspilicueta, we had Marcos Alonso, we had Willian, we had all these guys that were winners, but he brought in the youth, and that's something new to Chelsea, of course. We didn't really have youth players, if you know what I mean. I feel like once he goes, these youth players will get dropped. I don't think we'll see youth in this team in future, in my opinion. I think maybe Mason Mount might be a squad player because of the way he plays.
James, Mason Mount. Billy
Maybe
Gilmore.
Hudson-Odoi, maybe, but I just feel Tammy's going to get dropped. I think this long-term contract talk thing is playing parts in this. Maybe Haaland coming in and all this stuff. I think it makes sense now. why we haven't gone for Declan Rice, because Frank Lampard might be gone. So,
and honestly, can you say, Sadik, Declan Rice comes in, that he's going to solve everything?
no, 100% not. No way.
I like to hear that, man. I'd love to see Declan Rice at United personally. So I hope.
Here we go, bro. This guy, Johnathan. I don't know how much you heard of that.
Yeah, I heard most of it. Apologies. Twice now my connection's gone. I don't know what is wrong with Virgin Media in Peckham. It is absolutely atrocious. I can't get signal on my phone either from Vodafone. Joke.
But they're worried for Frank. That's why they're cutting out the lines.
You know what? I thought I had a worry of my bonnet, and I've just seen Sadik's hair. Man, that guy's hair is just wavy,
4 months,
isn't it?
bro. 4 months.
Epic.
But, yeah, for me, Lampard, if he goes, I wouldn't be surprised. I think that, and I've said this for a long time, I've been very critical of him, but in a constructive way. I've said what I think he's done wrong, what I think he can do better. So I haven't just been saying Lampard out. I've been saying a lot of positive things, but negative things in a constructive way. But for me, you've got to celebrate the manager and the player. Forget he was ever a player for us. He is a manager. He's not good enough as a manager. He was never the right pick for to be the manager. It just happened that Sarri left. We needed someone to come in, regalvanize. We galvanized. We had a transfer ban. We had youth players coming in. So at the time, it seemed to be the right move. I think Chelsea may have had a 2-3 year plan for Lampard in the back of their heads and said, let's see if he can get us through this part of our history, and then we get rid of him, bring someone else in. I don't think they realised he would be this bad with so many quality signings in the summer and be in this position after 19 games. So if we were to get rid of him,
you know what's sad though? You know what's sad?
It's just a Chelsea thing.
There's two things that's sad about it. Before he was manager of Chelsea or Derby, the way he spoke as a pundit is perfect. He gets it.
So he had so much good ideas.
You know what I mean? And you think you come to a manager and you can't do it. It confuses me in a way. It's like Gary Neville at Valencia. It just doesn't happen.
Some men are born to be in front of TV.
I've said it plenty of times, boys, that you could be a great student of the game, but you may not necessarily be a great teacher. So you're a great student, but you don't know how to implement. We've said it with Matisse and Yunus as well, that Frank might have all the ideas and he probably sits down with the boys and he probably goes through whole tactical stuff, but he doesn't know how to say that this is what you do, Kovacic, this is what you're going to do, HudsonOdoi. And we've said it in this whole stream.
That's what Mourinho probably meant when he was at Sky Sports.
Yes. He said something like that, right, Mourinho?
He said something about not being ready. He said something about not being ready or something like that.
I want to add something to that. I think last year, too, part of what made Frank Lampard so successful is that, like you're saying, he's the one who blooded in all these new youth players. And I feel like he was kind of building his own team with those guys. Like, give him a few more young players, Tomori, Tammy Abraham, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Reece James, Mason Mount. And then this year, the transfer ban is lifted. And one thing I will defend him on, I think the recruitment has been poor. I think the recruitment hasn't been logical. Like, the money was spent, yes, but I think when you look at the pieces that he was given, I don't think they mesh well together. And you can say, okay, we're 18 games into the season. He should have found a way now of making do of what he has. But I think to start with what he was given, I don't think it was good enough. I don't think they meshed well together. And he was kind of forced. I feel like there's pressure from the board also to kind of implement these new players in, because last year he had something going on. There was a unity around that Chelsea team. There was something around that Chelsea team that made you want to support them. Yeah, that's kind of gone now.
Honestly, it's probably true. Timo Werner, has he played in his best position or has he been deployed correctly? Probably not. Kai Havertz, I don't think Frank yet knows where Kai Havertz plays in this team. And that's two big players already that I don't know whether... I think Ziyech was needed because we needed a distributor. We needed a playmaker last season. So I completely understand the Ziyech factor. But Werner, was he the type of striker that we needed? Do you know what I mean? He loves to play off the back of defenders, off their shoulders. And we've never played in that manner. We've always played with the Didier Drogba style or Diego Costa style of a striker. It made sense when we were going for Moussa Dembele, of that guy from Lyon who's now gone to Atletico Madrid. It made sense when we were going for him. So I don't know how much it made sense. Let's wrap things up over here, boys. Just quickly, I'll go from each one of you guys. I'll start with Johnathan. Johnathan, What do you think is going to happen from here on in? What does your gut sort of say, man?
Chelsea still haven't tweeted. An hour and 15 minutes. So I'm going to continue that. Until they tweet, I'm going to think they're going to sack Lampard tomorrow. But all I'll say is, I'm not Lampard in, Lampard out. I'm very much now, I'll just accept whatever happens because I can't see it getting better. But what I'll say is, you sack Lampard tomorrow, who do you bring in?
For me, it's got to be an interim. I don't know. I know Lyes sort of said you can't wait around. Coaches like Allegri, Tuchel, they're there, they're available. You got to take them. But for me, I don't know if that's the footballing direction that Roman wants to go. So I think it may be Jody, but that's a good point. Once again, Lyes brought in the watch along that Jody's probably going to be the same as Frank. So I'm lost. I don't know. Do you go again, call up Hiddink one more time?
He's blocked you. There's no way he's not coming back again. Never.
I just think, for me, I'll kind of summarise what I've said. Not surprised about this performance, the way we've played. Not surprised we lost the game. I'm not surprised Lampard's under this pressure because it's kind of been of his own making. We've questioned his lineups, we've questioned his tactics, we've questioned the personnel. We're now questioning the way he's talking to the media. Every single thing is falling down in front of him. So he hasn't got much legs to stand on left. He hasn't got many legs to stand on, or a leg to stand on, shall I say. So, for me, wouldn't be surprised if something does happen tomorrow. But, I'm not here to just support one player, one manager. I'm here. I'm a Chelsea fan. I will support. I even got behind Rafa Benitez. Didn't really like him. I'll get behind the club. I support the club. My dad's a Chelsea fan. He's 58. He gave me that feeling. I get no other feeling than watching Chelsea with any other club or anything else. There's just something about watching Chelsea play, and when we play like that, it hurts me. So I want to see us better. I think there are good times ahead if we can. Build on the base of players that we have that can be good for the future. But things need to change, whether that's a manager, whether that's, certain things right now that Lampard can do. I don't know. I don't have all the answers. And I'm glad that I'm not the Chelsea board because it's very easy to pull the trigger. It's, whether you've got something and a solution, an answer lined up that is going to work out. Because if you sack Lampard, we do no better. Don't think a lot of fans are going to be happy. So,
no, for sure. Sadik, bro, what's your thoughts, man?
I'm gonna be a bit controversial, by the way. I
love it, bro. I love it.
I do think Lampard will go, and I believe Allegri should come in, and I'll tell you why. The reason why I think Allegri should come in is because of the way we've been playing football over the years. I think this squad is used to counter-attacking football. I don't think we have the mindset to play attacking football. We cannot even string 2 passes forward. You, Miz can play football right now in that team and pass forward. No, I'm being serious. It's very embarrassing. We spent £220 million and we have to take L's. Like many people saying, bring him to chill and all this stuff. What difference is it going to make? Okay, you want him to play certain football. I get he has more experience, 100%. He took PSG to a final. He was sacked twice. He couldn't get the best out of Neymar, in my opinion. One best players in the world.
Best player in the world,
yeah. So for me, Tuchel I see him like a Conte, okay? And me, I was biggest Conte fan. I don't know if you lot follow me during Conte days, but Conte is the reason why my socials went viral, basically. So Conte for me, and I want to see Zola come back personally. I want to see Zola back in the system.
Bro, he was a good guy, huh? He was a good guy.
Yeah, beautiful man. Like, he's my favorite player of all time as well, by the way.
I saw your pictures with him, right?
Yeah, I prefer him over Hazard, man. And I get slayed for that. But I want that back. I want that type of Chelsea back.
But you know why they want Tuchel, though? It's the German connection.
Yeah, but
I get that, but he's aligned with political issues right now about racism. We don't want him anywhere near Chelsea.
Tuchel is not a manager that works well with others, right? First of all, he always
challenges.
He's a very demanding manager. Yeah. You've done that with Conte. That doesn't work.
It doesn't work. It's a good point. So I get it. You don't want the other guy as well, Nagelsmann or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
But
there's a huge
it's a risk. It's a risk at the same time. So I don't want Hiddink. I don't want Grant. I don't want these guys. I agree. By the way, we need the manager straight in. Okay, and I think. But if the bad thing about this is if we bring in Tuchel, it don't make sense for Havertz. It doesn't make sense for Ziyech. There's a few issues in terms of defensive work rate, and I think that's why we wanted Willian to stay. Okay, Chelsea wanted him to stay for 2 years. No matter what, I wasn't a big
How
fan
much
of him.
does it make sense now, bro? Everyone gave it to us. How much, bro? We give it to Willian. I've given it to Willian, but
I've given it.
it makes sense why Lampard wanted him. Lampard wanted Willian to stay, bro. You know.
Yeah, he would have been playing these games. Honestly, he would have been tracking back. I've seen Chilwell, Reece James isolated. I've seen them open. I've seen no one track back. I've seen players lost. They're not even doing basics. Reece James for the second goal. You know, someone explain to me what's happened there, because
sleeping,
that's
bro. He's
not
even looking at Madison.
That's what I'm saying. And you know what? I don't know if you see these tweets from Alfie Newman. You know, your thumbnails maker, Miz, of course. He puts
Bro, you're
pictures
one
up.
too, bro.
Not him, sorry. Someone else put a picture up of a squad, the 04-05 team, or the year after that, and they said they'll put Reece James instead of Paulo Ferreira. And I just thought, you know, why? Why would you say that? Like, I know you love Reece James, but Paulo Ferreira has done it over the years. How do you put a player in that quickly? Last year, it was defensive issues. This year, I'm seeing the same thing.
Reece has
This is what I'm talking about, youth being dropped.
Yeah, Reece has a lot to prove, man. Honestly, I just want to say before we go to Lyes is that I want the next manager, no more experimentation. And I guess in that sense, Allegri makes sense, because I want a manager that has won stuff and has the ideology to win stuff with us. We've got a squad that is a fantastic squad. Let's not fool around the fact that we are a rubbish team. We're not like Arsenal when they were losing 7 or 2 months in a row and everyone was having a go at them that they've got a rubbish team. They actually had a rubbish team. And I felt sorry for Arteta because, you know, it's not a team that you can expect much with. Us, however, we have got one of the best teams in the Premier League. From defense to probably in midfield, you can say a little bit ifs and buts, but that's down to the manager finding a system to make it work. Offense as well. I need a manager now who knows how to win and can start delivering titles for us from next season. Get us to top 4 this season, because that's going to be very difficult. Bare minimum top 4, and then start winning titles from next season. And I don't know who fits that. Allegri is the only one. Tuchel, perhaps, but as you boys have said, he will clash heads with the board. Lyes, from a Man United point of view, man, what's your thoughts?
I want to tell you guys right now, Sadik, I agree completely. I think Allegri is made for this Chelsea job. And I'm a huge Allegri fan to start off. But I think something that's kind of overstated about him is how much of a pragmatist he is. I think he's shown over the years that he actually has created teams and molded them into different images. You look at his AC Milan team, the likes of Zlatan, Robinho, Ronaldinho, Seedorf, Cassano. Like, that was a really fluid attacking team. And they were quite unlucky not to go far in the Champions League that year. Then he goes to Juventus and he takes over that Conte team. And Conte couldn't do anything with them in Europe. He's the one that made that midfield 4 of Marquisio, Pogba, Pirlo, and Vidal. That wasn't okay. In games, they managed it well, but they played some brilliant stuff as well. And that team was broken up, and he built a second Juventus team and built it around Dybala, and he had Mandzukic, Alexandro. Like, this is one of Europe's best squad builders, and I think he's shown that he can play different styles of football. Moving on to Chelsea. Chelsea, it's in the history of this club. Like, whatever you guys want to say about it, it's a team that instant results are needed, right? It's never been a team that hires a manager. I know that was the goal of Lampard and that was kind of the fantasy, but it's never been a team that hires a manager and let's give them 5 years. Let's see what they can do. We'll give them time. Like, it's always been instant results. Allegri can come in, do that. I think the beauty of this Chelsea team right now, there are a lot of different players that can fit in different styles of play. The beauty of it is Allegri can come in, kind of choose players that fit his ideology. You may see 1 or 2 of these new players honestly gone in a year or 2. I think with Werner, for example, I don't think there's a long-term future with Chelsea. I think he needs to play in too rigid of a system for him to succeed at the club. But I think Allegri is really the best guy. He fits the way Chelsea has always been. Win now. Italian managers seem to do well at the club.
That's what I'm saying.
True.
That's what I'm saying.
Allegri.
Yeah, go on, Johnathan, bro.
Just say one thing. Nazar responded to some random person's tweet. I just went under the hashtag Roman. He said, "We won't know until Roman decides that's how Chelsea operate, but I am on alert now." If Nazar can tell us on alert, then yeah.
He's as close as it gets, bro.
I repeat myself.
I hope you didn't do it like 8 a.m. or something. You know?
we still haven't tweeted, man.
Make it afternoon so I can do a stream or something, man. Seriously.
You can't do the live.
Everyone's active in the afternoon, not in the morning, man. I don't want it in the morning.
Chelsea, please do it in the morning because that's when I'm going to be up.
For you, yeah.
Let's just look, it's a man's job on the line. We're in a pandemic, you know. So many people on furlough. Let's be nice, yeah.
No. Look, I don't. In all honesty, I'm going to wrap things up here, guys. I would love to see Frank turn things around, but personally, I don't see it happening. It's going south, and when it goes south so quick, it's finished. It's finished. So that's all I'm going to say, guys. Until next time. See ya.
It's time to go.